the super speedway.
Better keep crew chief under order before I punch him in his throat. If you ever stare at me like that.
Welcome to episode 189 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Tuesday, March 30th, 2021. I'm your host, Eric Young, and as the music slowly fades out, I'm joined by my co-host, James Cush. James, how's it going?
Eric, I didn't hear that clip. Where is that from? That's fantastic.
That is Matt Crafton on his radio after the John Hunter Nemechek stare down and slow clap.
I like that.
Courtesy of NASCAR on Fox.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. I didn't hear that in the moment. That's great. That was the first time I've heard that. So I'm all for that. That's good stuff.
Yep. So the little fiery tempers at Bristol this weekend on the dirt. So that was good.
Well, I guess this week.
Yeah.
I guess we started on Monday after we survived. I don't know what we want to call that. I saw Lake Bristol was out there for a bit, but man, we survived. I don't know, Eric. I don't think we dodged any bullets, but holy smokes, that was what a weekend to get it in. Holy cow!
Well,
awesome.
I was gonna say that Monday is not technically the weekend, but when a race gets rained out and NASCAR extends into Monday, it's still part of the weekend. So
the race weekend.
NASCAR,
let's call it what it is.
NASCAR determines the weekend in my world. So
yeah.
So we had the extended weekend this weekend due to all the rain in Bristol. But you're right, James. We survived it. We survived dirt at Bristol. We survived potential catastrophes, foolishness. I think everybody looked pretty silly on Sunday or even Saturday.
I was going to say Saturday was I was concerned Saturday, and then I was even more concerned on Sunday.
But here's the thing, though,
everything went down.
So first, let's take the weather out of the equation, because the weather, you can't control the weather. We've had races snowed out in Bristol in April.
Look what happened at Texas last year. That in the playoffs, for God's sakes.
Right.
We were racing way into the week, and that was a huge problem last year.
And that's the problem with a dirt track, and that's something you're going to deal with if you're going to run dirt races, is that you can't just take the jet dryers out and blow the track off. And it's disappointing because Bristol's a track that you can dry in about an hour at tops. And
it has lights, and you can do a lot of stuff with night racing at Bristol, but when you can't save the track,
right,
there's nothing you can do.
But so there was a lot of concern on Friday or on Saturday with the tires, because we were wearing out tires pretty bad, and so the format was changed as a result. NASCAR consulted with Kyle Larson, Ricky Stenhouse, Austin Dillon to come up with a plan to make sure that they weren't blowing tires during this race. But the thing is I don't know that it really was a problem, because isn't that what we want? We want tires to wear out.
Yes. So, the concern was the length of the tire wear,
right,
where you were only getting 10 laps into a run and they were completely shot. That was getting to be that's where it was getting a little scary. But
we ran 50 laps
perfect
at the end, just about under green flag condition, and we didn't have any major tire issues. So
nope.
Other than cars running into other cars, which is
it was
normal.
It was perfect, man. You and I were texting throughout the race, and I had my concerns go all the way through, thinking that last stage we might have a problem on our hands. But no, man, the tires held up. Kudos to the track prep and NASCAR, everybody at SMI that got it in. And
track was beautiful when they started the truck race on
it
Monday.
Was, yeah, it looked really good. And the Cup race too.
And there were people on Twitter, there were dirt track people on Twitter, just no way is this track going to be ready. They're not going to be able to start even by 4:00. There's no way this is going to work. But damn it, they proved them wrong.
They did. Yeah, I was cautiously optimistic the whole weekend. And usually, you know me, Eric. Usually, if I see a weakness, I like to jump on it sometimes. But I wasn't willing to go there this weekend, because I really wanted this thing to work, and I wanted to, enjoy this, first race on dirt in 50 plus years, and for what it was a special event, and NASCAR needs some of these types of special events. I really wanted this to work, And man, I was so concerned, and my concern was that's where my concern was coming from. Like, I really, like, you and I, when they first announced this race, we were concerned. I mean, I was concerned all the way up until the last stage, and by God, we made it.
I was bummed out on Saturday because I was thinking, I was down on this race when they announced it. I came around.
Got excited, really excited.
I came around, I got excited, I was ready for it. I predicted at the beginning of the season this was going to be the best race of the year. And the doubters were being proven right. And I was so bummed out. It's like, no, I don't want NASCAR to fall on their face with this.
Yeah.
And they came out Monday swinging. They put it all together. And was it perfect? No. It was not a perfect event by any means. But for a first-time event, and I say first time because we know we're doing it again. I think you couldn't really ask for much more. I mean,
it was clumsy to the point where it was successful.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say it was like the Truck Series when they ran the first race at Eldora, which you and I were there for.
Yep.
I don't think it was quite like that, but that's because as new as this was, it wasn't new because we've done this at Eldora. So we know we can run on dirt. We didn't know if we could run Cup on dirt, but we assumed if you run the trucks on dirt, you can run Cup on dirt. We didn't consider the fact that the Cup cars have way more horsepower and they're going to burn through tires faster. But, I mean, the big question here was whether the track was going to hold up, and it did.
Yeah.
So, and whether it was going to hold up to 250 laps, which it did.
Yep.
And so, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't. It wasn't the. Well, it was during the day, but it was an hour later than it was originally planned to be.
Yep.
Then again, there was a race beforehand too, which there wouldn't have been otherwise. So
they ran 250 and 150. So yeah. So I mean, we had quite a few laps on old Bristol by the time the day was done.
So I didn't have the same feeling leaving this that we did. I mean, when we left Eldora, we were like, "Holy crap, this is awesome! Let's run everything on dirt."
Yeah,
Let's throw all the series on it. This is the greatest thing ever. We're not there with this, but that's because it's not as new as that was then. So
that was.
Now it does leave me excited for the truck race coming up later this year on another
Knoxville.
Dirt race. Yeah, Knoxville. So
I think that's my biggest takeaway too, Eric. Was, hey, Cup cars can run on dirt. I'd like to see it at a real dirt track, not Bristol. Why are you taking a Bristol away from me when we could possibly run, somewhere else?
You're taking a Bristol away, but. And I get that argument, but you and I have also made the argument that none of these tracks should have a second date. And Bristol hasn't. I mean, yes, we've had a couple good races at Bristol recently, but Bristol hasn't been that great. Are we really losing anything by losing the Spring Bristol race?
Not so much, but
was this better than last year's Spring Bristol race? I think so.
I mean, it's
last year's Spring Bristol race was good, but.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I didn't enjoy this more than most races. I think I enjoyed this race as much as I probably would enjoy like a Talladega or a Daytona, a big event that, we look forward to on the calendar. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you there.
Last year we got our wish and we ran the race that we wanted to run at Bristol for the entire history of that race at Bristol in the All-Star race. And none of us are clamoring for it to come back. I mean, we like the idea of it at Bristol, but we're not clamoring for it. So, that just shows you that Bristol needed something, and we still got the night race there. We still have a race on the actual concrete.
Yeah.
So I'm not upset with this. I'm more upset. Let me put it this way, James. I'm more upset with the fact that Atlanta has a second date than I am that Bristol lost a date.
True. Yeah.
So.
Yep. Nope. I get that. I understand. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a spectacle. I wish, if we weren't in this COVID world. And that place could have possibly been packed. And, Eric, you probably would have been there. I don't know if I could have gone.
I definitely would have been there.
Yeah. You would have been there. I think we would have had maybe not quite that Eldora feel that we had back in, God, Eric, that was 8 years ago now this summer. Holy crap. But I mean, that was such a special event.
I think part of that though too, James, was it was NASCAR returning to its roots. Not only did we return to dirt, but we returned to a back home. It's Eldora is a pretty high class facility, but it's not.
It's way out there.
It's not a NASCAR facility, and so you got. Despite the fact that they've got some suites and stuff like that, it's
a true dirt track.
Yeah,
Bristol,
it's a local short track, is what it is.
Right. And you throw dirt on Bristol, and call it a dirt race, that's fine. It's not a true dirt race in the sense that the dirt isn't doing the same things that it's going to do at a real, Knoxville is going to be a much better race, I think, for the trucks than what we saw at Bristol. But
Knoxville will still have that Eldora feel, whereas
and for what the spectacle was that we saw yesterday, I mean, it was great. I'm bummed that we lost the heat races, and
me too.
We'll probably get into that a little bit, but yeah, I mean, we lost out on a lot of opportunity to see these cars run even more, but by God, it's a success. Yep. It worked. It did work.
So, James, here we are about almost 15 minutes in the podcast, and we haven't announced that Joey Logano won the race.
Yeah, Jolo.
Joey Logano becomes he's the 7th winner in 7 races this season. He's the first dirt winner in 50 years in the Cup Series.
You getting worried about the 16 winners yet?
I'm not worried about it. I'm looking forward to it. I bet you Michael McDowell's getting worried, though.
Michael McDowell's doing really well in the points, though. He's hanging in there.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think this 7 winners in 7 races, I like that. But
I mean, the only solace that those drivers that are worried about it have are that Joey Logano's a guy that you expect to win a race.
Yep.
So it's when the Christopher Bells and the Michael McDowells win races that you don't expect to win races that they take spots that you don't.
Kyle Busch hasn't won. Denny Hamlin hasn't won. Kevin Harvick hasn't won. That list is getting long here pretty soon.
So Joey Logano, very little dirt experience. He was up in the booth for the truck race earlier in the day. I think he picked some stuff up there for sure. And I mean, he was strong all day. He was there all day. Let's see, he finished 6th in stage 1. He won the second stage, and then won the race, and looked strong for a guy who's not used to dirt.
Yeah, he was great, and Kyle Larson has a now famous quote. He said, "Guys who are good at Bristol are gonna rise to the top here." And you look at the top couple of guys, Joey and Ricky and Denny, and you're right. Dirt or no dirt, this is Bristol.
I mean, and I will say that I think that the winner of the race was taken out when Christopher Bell spun.
Yeah, this race changed. And shout out to Kyle Larson and Chris Bell. I mean, but Kyle Larson, and before that wreck, I mean, he proved his point and on how good he is on dirt. I mean, he came from dead last, flying through the field, and just got caught up in a mess. I mean, he didn't have to win this race for everybody to know, like, okay, that's the guy.
And this race suited Kyle more than a truck race on dirt, because this race was all about throttle control.
Yeah.
And there's probably nobody with better throttle control than
nobody.
Kyle Larson.
Yeah, nobody better. Yeah, and that's one of the good points too, though, Eric, is the guys you see at the front of the field most of the day. I mean, those are true wheelmen.
Yeah.
That were up there all day. I mean, Joey Logano, infamous wheelman. Ricky Stenhouse, he's got a lot of dirt experience, probably the most of our top guys here. But yeah, I mean, there's really talented drivers that found their way through the field. And I was bummed we lost. I bummed for many reasons, because I had Larson all across the board and all my picks. But I mean, to lose the 2 best dirt racers in the field in the same crash, and that was the end of the day for both of them, really, that sucks, because I thought if those guys make it through clean and get to the last stage, I mean, we might have missed out on a pretty historic show, possibly, which stinks. We could
have, but we also.
But that's racing.
We could have missed out on a Martin Truex style win from the truck race, because Larson could have
if Larson clears it. Yeah. You know what? You're right. I didn't think about that. I didn't think it all the way through, because if that guy gets out front, he's putting it to everybody. So you're probably right. But to lose them both on the same wreck, though, really does. I mean, took us took a couple of real contenders out that you and I were looking forward to watching for sure, I think.
So as much as we like this race, and I think we're in agreement. We like this race, right? I mean, it may not be the greatest race, but we're pretty happy with it.
Yep.
But we only had 5 leaders all day.
Sure. Yeah. Comers and goers, though.
Martin Truex Jr. led the majority of the race, 126 laps. He was right there, I think 3rd at the end when he, believe cut down a tire. And dropped to 19th on the finish.
Did he cut down a tire, or did he just blow the corner?
I'm not sure. I guess I don't know. He ended up 19th, so I'm assuming he must have.
I think he just, from the looks of it,
he must have really blown the corner then.
Yeah, but he was stuck up high in the marbles, and everybody was going under him. So either way, I mean, it sucks for him, because he he had a top 5 all day that he was going to get. But
Kyle Busch led 7 laps. He had issues, finished 17th.
Battled back, overheated early.
Yeah, Joey Logano with the win laid 61 laps on the day. Denny Hamlin led a lap, and Daniel Suarez led 58 laps in this race and looked like the guy to beat.
Win it.
Yeah,
he was going to win this race. That was awesome. I mean, I've been saying kudos to Trackhouse Racing for the majority of the season already because they're showing me something, right?
Right.
But I did not expect to see that. I mean, that came out of freaking nowhere. Him leading that race with that new team on dirt. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Where did Daniel Suarez come from?
Well, and we've talked a lot about the benefit that Hendrick has gotten from its relationship with Richard Childress Racing and vice versa this season. But maybe one we haven't talked about that's benefited from it is Daniel Suarez. Because they were talking about on Door Bumper Clear. This is not an agreement like some of the other agreements that we've seen. This car, it comes out of the Childress shop. Mm-hmm. This is a Richard Childress car.
Well, yeah, Austin Dillon calls him a teammate.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's just another example of how RCR has really had a resurgence this season. Disappointed with Austin Dillon because he ended up 21st and was down a lap throughout much of the day.
He said they missed it. He was one of the guys to watch. I mean, I think he was your pick. He was
my pick, yeah.
Yeah, so
he saved you from getting annihilated with you.
I know, yeah. He definitely had me covered he didn't have to do a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody was a little disappointed that Austin didn't have a better show. He just said they missed it, which, that's going to happen.
One thing worth noting, I would say we definitely have more speed here because the wrecks hit a lot harder than they do at Eldora.
They were flying. Yeah. Ask Eric Almirola when the sauce came flying in and cleaned him up.
Yep. Yeah, that was
not happy.
That was rough, and a lot of drivers upset with cars or trucks in the case of the truck race crashing into accidents late. But that's one thing. You run on dirt. These guys can't stop, man. And then part of it, too, is that the way you have to set up your car when you're running a big, heavy stock car that's not made for dirt on dirt is you set them up to where when you hit the brakes, they turn. Yep. That helps you turn. So you're three-wheel braking, basically, and that gives you less stopping power when you need to stop. And that's why when you see them lock up, they slide sideways and they hit with the door.
Yep.
Because they're designed to do that. So
makes you appreciate the World of Outlaws guys even more because of how fast they are. They are really going fast. On tracks just like this.
This was a slower Bristol, but it still was Bristol in that you had an accident and there were people that were way back from the accident that ended up in the accident.
Well, when your top speed's 105, 110 in the straightaway,
right?
But you can't stop. It takes an entire straightaway to stop. I mean, you're still going pretty quick. I mean, it might not look fast, but 100 miles an hour is 100 miles an hour. Stand next to that on the highway and see how fast it is.
Right. Eric Almirola had issues. Ross Chastain. We talked about Christopher Bell spinning and him and Kyle Larson out of it. Anthony Alfredo finishes last, 39th. Corey LaJoie got caught up in that wreck as well, who was actually running pretty well before the wreck. Mm-hmm. So anybody else really jump out at you? Stuart Friesen started this one, finished 23rd.
Yeah, he was just solid. I mean, first start, hanging in there.
You weren't really expecting to go run up front, especially with a Spire car, but he was he got a decent finish. Almost a top 20 finish. You can't ask for much more than that.
I was bummed about Chase Briscoe because he looked like he might have a top 5, top 10 type of day, and then got squeezed by Kevin.
Harvick cleaned him out.
Broke his shock, but still
put him freaking airborne, man.
Yeah, that was crazy. But hell of a run for them to get that car fixed up after all that damage and finish 20th. I mean, he kept it clean after that. So I mean, that's a great day considering. I know he wanted more. Ryan Preece stood out to me for a while. He was in the top 10 quite a bit. He's got lots of dirt experience. I'm trying to think of anybody else who really stood out, but
who did you mention? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Right. I was going to say Ryan Preece.
Who'd you say before Ryan Preece? Because I don't want to repeat it.
No, that's it. I said Briscoe, and then I went to Preece.
How about Tyler Reddick was coming, working the high side, finished 7th.
Yeah, we're doing his thing on the high side. That was good. Eric Jones just kept it clean.
He was the next one. Yeah, top 10 finish for Eric Jones, who's not a dirt guy.
No, another good run for him. But he is a short track guy from our area.
He is a short track guy, but I've watched him run some asphalt back in the day before he got into Cup.
Old Wild Bill Byron. He won the iRacing event on Wednesday and comes out and looks like maybe he had a little bit of help for him. He finished sixth. That was good. And then your guy got a top 5 finish that you liked. Yeah, which good call, man.
Yeah, Ryan Newman, man, I knew coming. Well, I mean, he ran so well in the truck at Eldora multiple times that I figured that he'd be
survived a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, got turned around
to get a nice run out of it. So, but
Alex Bowman looked good too for a while till he got caught up in trouble.
Yep.
Ended up 22nd, but he looked decent throughout the day.
What I like about our rundown here, though, Eric, is think about the comers and goers that we had during the day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something you don't see very often. Usually you guys get into the top 15 and settle in.
Yep.
And almost anywhere we go. But, yeah, we're talking about a lot of drivers who come back. And that's cool. I mean, I like that. Tire wear, accidents, whatever. But it
really helps when two of the favorites get taken out in a wreck pretty early.
Oh, yeah. And if Kyle Larson doesn't have that engine change, that changes everything for him. I think too. He doesn't have to work his way through traffic. Although that was fun to watching him come from the back. I mean maybe Kyle Larson should have a mandatory starting from last anytime we race dirt because that was awesome.
I will say, as somebody, and I can't speak for Bristol because I wasn't there, but as somebody who's watched the trucks at Eldora, every year but one that they've run. As good of a job as TV can do, they don't do a race like this justice. I guarantee you there was battling and contact and excitement throughout the pack. You saw, I mean, they weren't single file. Shoot, they started them single file at one point or towards the end of the race, and they still weren't single file for long. So I guarantee you that as good as the show was on TV, it was much, much, much better in person.
Oh, guaranteed. Eric, you brought up a good question there that we actually don't have in the notes. The decision to go single file. What do you think?
I hated it.
Yeah.
I think it was necessary where it happened, but I think when they had the stage break and did the track maintenance, I think they should have gone back. And I honestly think, James, that they need to plan if they're going to do what they did with the stage breaks. I think they need to plan more time and really put some work on this track. I mean, that it definitely helped that last stage break. That was close to what they needed, but maybe even a little bit longer than that. I know it sucks for TV, but let's get the track right. That second stage, or the second portion of the second stage, was really, really ruined by the dust.
Yeah. So Eric, you brought up a good point with the dust. I think maybe down the road, and I'm sure NASCAR's looking at all of this stuff, but splitting this race up, being able to add water in between, this was, I want to say to you as well, another kudos, because you had said it last week, like running all these laps in the daytime could be a problem. So I think maybe running at night can help with some of that, but there's a lot of opportunity for us to, split this race up, make it more of a traditional short track, local track dirt race, and keep it kind of split up, keep the track moisture down. I think Bristol's definitely going to need that in the future. Lessons learned. I think they've got a lot of notes on this stuff.
You could see NASCAR when they had those 2 cautions off the restarts before they made the decision to go double file or single file. They were running laps off, and those were intentional, quick caution laps, not slowing the pace truck down, trying to run some laps off so they didn't have to run as many green flag laps. That was, I guarantee you, that was intentional.
Yeah.
But it just happened to hit at that particular point. I think the biggest problem was, again, the time of day, and it was less about the dust being caused by the time of day as it was the sun being where it was.
Yeah.
Because you were getting a glare.
Yeah.
Really bad from that dust.
Yeah. I saw a tweet from Ryan McGee who said he was in Bristol. They did a little special feature for ESPN. And he was at his buddy's house who lives like 3 miles down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And he said ever since they put dirt down at Bristol, the dust has been there's been so much dust that he's had to clean off his car like every night that they've run, which is like, that's miles away. And people were like, that's not, Ryan McGee was like, that it can't be true. And sure enough, man, you look at that dust coming out of that dust bowl, it was, it was quite,
well, and Bristol's not exactly a airy track. The wind doesn't move through that
No, it's a coliseum.
Yeah.
It's playing. It's like throwing dirt around inside. I don't know. Pick your favorite football stadium. It's University of Michigan Stadium or something. There's nowhere to go.
I believe it was
out the top.
I believe it was Matt Weaver who tweeted this weekend too that at one point back in the past, Bruton Smith did commission a study to determine whether it was feasible to put a roof over Bristol.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
So,
yes.
Worth noting.
Can you imagine if all the dust was flying around and there was a roof on that thing?
My God. No, I cannot imagine.
Oh my gosh.
No, I was disappointed that we did the single file restarts. I think we could have went back to double file. I think this, hopefully NASCAR learns from this and they decide to run this at night. In the future, at least run the main event at night. You can run the heats during the day like we do at the Truck Series. Obviously the trucks ran in the middle of the day, which was not the plan. They were supposed to run at night after 8 o'clock. Yeah. So
I'd be okay if they did. If they went back next year and they did a, kind of like the Coke 600 where they have a 4-stage race.
Yeah.
Make this a 5-stage race and run 50s, 50 heats or 50 lap heats and a feature. So
the other thing to look at too is that we did not have live pit stops, and because of that, we ended up having to have the competition caution so they could change tires after 50 laps. I think that's something that they'll look at for next year too, is considering live pit stops. I was disappointed that we didn't do live pit stops because I thought the reason we didn't do them at Eldora was because there's not enough room, and there's plenty of room at Bristol. We know that.
Yeah.
But there was some talk from NASCAR prior to this race or during the race that the reason they chose not to do live pit stops was because with all the dust, a slippery pit road, cars sliding on pit road, pit crews slipping as they're trying to work on the cars for a first time event, which that was the note in the quote. For a first time event, it didn't seem like it was something they wanted to try.
Yeah.
But I think that leads you to believe that we're going to look at that for the future.
Yeah, I think so.
If nothing else, keep the competition cautions, keep the brakes where they are, but let these guys pit if they want to try strategy throughout the rest of the race. Because there were goofy rules as far as you couldn't fuel the car until after they changed the tires, and a couple drivers got penalized for that, and I don't know, just silliness with that stuff. But I will say it probably saved the crews money because they didn't have to bring their pit crews in this weekend.
Yep.
You had mechanics and crew chiefs and all that wrenching on the cars and changing the tires and all that stuff. Yeah. They had 10 minutes to make a pit stop or 7 minutes or whatever.
Yep.
So one other thing worth noting before we talk about trucks, Bubba Wallace had a spin in the middle of the race or toward the end of the race.
Near the end, yeah. Close to the end, yeah.
No caution for that. What do you think, James? Should we have seen a caution for that?
Well, I brought it up in the notes because I mean everybody else got a caution. Kudos to Bubba for getting up and going. But this goes back to Kyle Busch spinning out on purpose.
I was just gonna say if
Kyle
Busch gets a caution for spinning out on purpose on the apron, then Bubba Wallace should get a caution for spinning in the middle of the field.
In the middle of traffic, and honestly, Bubba did the right thing, got the car back going, but there's no incentive for him to do that. So what? I hate to see more and more cautions there. I'm not somebody who loves seeing all these cautions all the time, but
no, I'm glad there wasn't a caution for the race.
Me too. Yeah, me too. But I just felt like it wasn't fair to. Bubba.
Well, and here's the thing. Let me argue that point, and I'm going to argue my own point from previous.
That's
because
fine. Yeah,
I've been bitching about the grass ripping splitters off of cars,
right?
And I've heard plenty of people over the past week say that you shouldn't spin out without being punished for it.
Ooh.
And that makes sense. If you don't leave the racing service, you don't rip the splitter off your car. So if you leave the racing service and it rips your splitter off your car, that's on you. That's not on the track.
It's not a bad take. I don't know if I 100% agree, but I think that's...
So, I mean, should it completely destroy your car? No. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to see a Timothy Peters type wreck in the Cup Series one of these times where a car is going to dig into that grass and go flipping down the front stretch, and NASCAR is going to go, whoa, okay, we need to do something now.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too is like what is a fair punishment, to have your car completely destroyed because you spun, or to go to the back of the field, maybe a lap down.
And the thing with Bubba's situation is NASCAR preaches safety. We do these things because of safety.
Yes.
He's turned sideways in front of traffic. Probably should have thrown a caution on that one.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that, but kudos to the drivers around him. I mean, and kudos to Bubba for getting it back going. But dang, dude, if I was him, I would have been having I would be asking some questions. Like,
yeah, I'd be knocking on the hauler door after that race.
Yeah, and before anybody does this, we need to put the footnotes on this conversation. We're not doing this because this isn't a Bubba Wallace bigger picture conversation.
Couldn't care less who it is.
It could be any driver.
Yeah.
Make it Eric Jones or make it Harvick or whatever.
That's what bothers me about NASCAR and their calls, though, is they're so inconsistent. Sometimes somebody will brush the wall and we throw a caution. Other times Kyle Busch slams the wall in the Xfinity Series a couple years ago, or cuts a tire down, debris all down the backstretch, leading the race, and they leave the green out, so he loses the race. It's that type of stuff. Let's be consistent on these things. Yeah,
judgment calls. Like we've talked about judgment calls and balls and strikes in NASCAR for. I think we beat that horse to death. We can still probably give it a couple more whacks,
right?
As we go along.
Whoever those bozos are up in the tower.
that's a coded statement.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, those bozos, man. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with those bozos?
All in all, James, what do you think? Successful weekend? Are we satisfied with this weekend?
Yeah. I think my text that I sent you will live in infamy. When I said, this is pretty fun. I don't, if they don't bring it back, that's fine. And then 5 minutes later, we're coming back in 2022. Boy, did I feel like an idiot after I sent that text. That was pretty good timing, though. Can't help it.
That was funny.
Yeah. But no, I'm glad they're bringing it back. I mean, I'll stand by my point. I'd like to see this on a quote unquote real dirt track, maybe, because I think it would be an even better show. But regardless, great show. Let's run it back, man.
Yeah, let's before we talk about the truck race, let's dig into this since we're already kind of there. We mentioned
kind of going into our news items here a little bit.
Yeah, the dirt race will return in 2022. We don't know yet what it's going to look like. We don't know whether it will be Trucks Cup, maybe Xfinity, because I know a lot of the Xfinity guys were clamoring for this to race the Xfinity cars on dirt. And I found it interesting that even guys Kevin Harvick was very much against this. And he got out there on Saturday and had a freaking blast. Yeah. And all of a sudden he was the biggest proponent of it. So I think it was, we saw a case of a little bit of weakness with Kevin Harvick and something he was uncomfortable with.
Well, I think Kevin, just by some of the interviews I've seen with him, I think he took this for what it was. He thought this is just a fun event. Who cares about the points? This is just something that we're going to do. We're going to have a little bit of fun. So I think he took it for what it was. That was awesome.
And that's the thing, guys. That's one thing to understand is, okay, this year was a crapshoot. We didn't know what to expect. Everybody was coming in blind. I mean, they were a little less blind when the trucks did it. But let's look at Eldora in the truck race and look at year 2 and year 3. And every year that they ran it, everybody got a little bit better. Matt Crafton started running his modified during the year. These guys started working on this. This race will not be like this next year. We will have guys that are much better at this than they were this year because now it's on the schedule. Now it's something we're going to see. James, you got to mention in here about the old car. Is that talk that people are talking about?
Yes, that's talk. Jenna Fryer was kind of stirring it up, but you could see it's starting to trickle in. Like, if we're going to run this back,
that being an issue though. Like, why would we run? We don't know enough about the new car to know whether the new car can run on dirt. You would think that if NASCAR is planning this race on dirt, they're also planning on ways to make the new car work on dirt. I just feel like that's an expense that we're trying to get rid of, is having these cars sitting around.
Well, I'll give credit to Jordan Bianchi on this one too. You got to remember with the new car coming in, and we don't know what the date of next year's race is going to be. It could be midsummer. Who knows? We don't know. But the parts are going to be scarce early on for this car. They're going to be all over the place. So is it cheaper to keep a couple of old cars around to run a dirt race for one more year and then bring them over? I think there's good arguments either way on this one. I like what you said. Like, yeah, they're building this car. Let's
be clear. Let me just because I've not seen any of this talk. Yep. Nobody from NASCAR has said anything about bringing the old car,
yet.
Right?
No.
Okay.
This is not coming from NASCAR.
So here's my prediction. I love Jenna Fryer. My prediction is Jenna Fryer is full of crap. My prediction is we will run. I've seen this type of thing happen with NASCAR before, where we sit there and go, "There's no way we could possibly do this," and then they do it. We're gonna run the new car here next year. That's my prediction.
Well, I'll say this too, though. But if the owners get behind this, the owners can probably sway NASCAR's decision to say, hey, let's bring these old cars back one more time. So it's going to be a
there's
conversation.
Going to be a big pile of old cars laying around, and we know that the trucks have run. I mean, they ran some old trucks. Most of those teams, when they were coming to Eldora, even the last Eldora race, were running really old trucks there.
I would venture to guess that there may have been a 2013 Eldora truck in that Bristol race. On Monday. There's got to be.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised with that, but I think NASCAR is going to run the new car there. I don't think. I don't think they go backwards.
I think we'll see. Yeah, I think we'll see. It's too early to say, but it's going to be up to the teams, and cost spending is a big deal. So it's probably cheaper for them to keep a couple of cars around than just to get parts for the new one for one race deal. And if it's early enough in the season, it might give the teams a little bit of a break, a couple extra weeks here. So there's a lot of positives to bringing the old car back. I'm for it. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
So we spent too much time on this as it is.
I guess the biggest thing to me is if we move the numbers, are we moving the numbers on this car?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. We've already seen it.
Let's talk about trucks real quick. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this because, hey, the trucks, this is nothing new.
There's not much to say, yeah.
We run the trucks on dirt all the time. Martin Truex Jr. leads 105 laps to win this thing. Again, a guy with no dirt experience. None. Absolutely
except for a couple of tests, yeah.
Yeah, comes out and makes everybody look silly.
Dominated. Other than Sheldon Creed leading 38 laps, I mean, he stunk up the entire show.
So, James, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What team did Martin Truex Jr. drive for?
He drove for Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Kyle Busch Motorsports. So Kyle Busch wasn't driving that truck, right?
No. I love where you're going with this because I like.
So what you're saying is Kyle Busch is the only one who gets the good trucks for KBM, huh?
Kyle Busch is the only one who gets the good trucks for KBM.
Really? That Martin Truex truck looked pretty damn good.
You took a turn I know. You took a turn that you went right when I thought you were going left because what I thought you were going to say was, God dang, Martin Truex Jr., what is he doing racing in the truck series and went and dominating like this?
Well,
this is crap.
I do want to point that out.
What a bunch of crap to have a cup driver come down into the truck series and win all these races.
Kyle Busch tweeted this. Actually, somebody else tweeted and Kyle Busch retweeted it.
Aaron Bearden tweeted it.
Yeah, there you go. Aaron Bearden, thanks. Yeah,
our buddy.
Give credit to Aaron Bearden.
Yeah, former pod.
Nobody was crying about all the cup drivers running that truck race because Kyle Busch wasn't running that truck race. Even when Martin Truex Jr. went out and dominated it, they still
in a Kyle Busch truck. Nah, nobody cared, right?
Yep.
That's so funny.
So
I did not expect this from Truex though. Honestly.
I mean, his first truck series win, and he does it on dirt.
Yep, it was cool seeing Ben Rhodes up there, and like Chase Briscoe got a top 5, which I thought he was going to run good. But yeah, there was poor Kyle Larson. He didn't even really get a shot.
Speaking of hard hits, and then John Hunter Nemechek. If he would have been unbelting from the car, he would have been unbelted and climbed out of it by the time he got hit.
Yeah, no kidding.
Derek Kraus came in just flying.
Yeah, well, that was the start of John Hunter Nemechek's problems because his truck got wiped out by the service truck coming around. Which I got a soapbox real quick, Eric.
Yeah.
Really quick. So I've done this before. I'm going to keep it brief. NASCAR has that rule about not going towards the traffic on the track after you get in a wreck.
Yeah,
you're supposed to go right to the infield care vehicles or whatever, the ambulance, and get out of there. So he climbs up onto the banking on the dirt. Is clapping at Crafton, which we had the soundbite at the beginning, was fantastic.
Right.
And then nearly gets hit by the service truck, which then hits his truck and pushes it down into a wall.
Right.
Is that rule just not existent anymore? Do we not care about that anymore?
It's Bristol, baby. This is what NASCAR wants. NASCAR wants it.
Service trucks hitting competitive vehicles.
That rule was created because of the Tony Stewart incident.
I understand.
And NASCAR never wanted to make that rule because they love this.
I know.
They love this. And you can't blame them. But you're right. But, I mean, honestly, when NASCAR tends to punish drivers and still fine drivers if they get to a situation where they're putting themselves semi in danger. But for the most part, it's kind of policed itself. We don't see guys climbing in windows or anything like that. And I think that's really what we want to try and stop.
It doesn't seem like it was a dangerous situation, But
obviously it was when the truck.
Yeah, because that truck came sliding in. If that truck starts sliding in,
it
a little
is
earlier,
tough too, though, because I will. And you're not wrong. You're 100% right. I will say though that some of those long lenses they use make things look a lot closer than they are. So he may not have been that close.
Man, it looked like
but
it was
man,
close.
it smoked his truck, and
it did. Smoke his truck.
The thing was already pretty destroyed, but it was more destroyed after that.
I mean, once again, I hate to bang on safety again because it's not something I like talking about, but we went into it on Gregson last week, and you know how a few seconds changes things. If that, if he's climbing out of that truck or has a foot on the ground, and it's a few seconds later, it's still a pretty nasty little deal there. But okay,
well, the show comes first, James.
The show does come first. We are an entertainment sport, by God, and we are here to entertain you the Coliseum of all places.
Exactly. If NASCAR didn't have that moment that they can re-air every dirt race we run at Bristol now,
yes,
they would be disappointed. So they got what they wanted.
They got what they wanted, and we got one hell of a soundbite for the start of the show.
Yes, we did. Good. All right. I don't think anything. And then John Hunter Nemechek wanted to make sure that it was known by going up to the hauler of Matt Crafton and doing the same slow clap.
I mean, golly. Oh man.
Anyway,
good stuff. Hey, rivalries are good.
Yeah. No,
he's being seen. He's being seen.
Hey,
which is good.
If I think. Maybe it's a little early to be doing this stuff. We talk about Noah Gragson and ruffle and feathers when he doesn't have a whole lot in the name of wins. Maybe it's a little early for John Hunter to be,
maybe
starting feuds with people, but
especially champions like Crafton.
I thought for sure if I was John Hunter, I think I would be a lot more pissed at Derek Kraus than I was.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Because that was one weird incident. Yeah,
I mean the caution was out. I swear that the pace car had already picked up the field. People were making pit stops already, and here he comes flying into the turn.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you gotta love the truck series.
Yeah,
it's rough and tumble. I can't wait for them to go back to Knoxville. I'll be tuning in. That's my big takeaway. Is the trucks on dirt is such a joy. I'm very happy with the race.
So I will go out on a limb here and say we need to run one dirt race in the Cup Series, and that's it.
Yes,
but I have no issue with seeing 2 or 3 of these dirt races in the Truck Series.
Yeah, and if we can,
if you're gonna run a vehicle on dirt, let's run a damn truck on dirt.
Can somebody from NASCAR please mend this relationship with Tony Stewart so we can get Eldora back on the schedule? For God's sakes, golly, man, make a phone call. Somebody do something. I know he's a stubborn.
At Bristol, we're never getting Cup cars at Eldora. It's never.
I know. Just like God dang. I know he's a stubborn old man at this point, but can we just find a way to maybe Kevin Harvick can help us mend the fence here a little bit? I don't know. I want Eldora back on the schedule.
Before we leave the truck race, it is worth noting that Martin Truex Jr. also has joined the Triple Threat Club.
Yes, that's right.
Winning in all 3 series.
36th member of the Triple Threat Club. That's a great list of drivers. If you guys want to look that up, it was on Reddit here recently. I had saved a photo, but
who leads that list?
That would be Mr. Kyle Busch. You want me to get the list out? If you filibuster for me for like a minute, I can probably get everything pulled up here really quick.
I think I have it saved too because I saw it somewhere, but
it's Kyle Busch, KFB, of course, way up at the top. Just a second here.
Yeah.
Hold on. I've almost got it.
So bad at filibustering.
I'm scrolling past. So I sent you my picture of Daniel Suarez liking my tweet. That was good. And then Chase Elliott's Hooters car for Darlington, which I very much enjoy.
It's too bad that it was Daniel Suarez and not somebody with the stature and fan base of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yes, right.
But you're getting
I've had Jeff Gordon though. I've had Jeff Gordon.
You're getting there, but you're just not there yet.
I've had like from Jeff Gordon, so I'm okay with that. And Brad Keselowski, so I've got some championships behind my likes.
Yeah,
so.
I suppose.
There it is. There's my dig. So Kyle Busch 214, Kevin Harvick 119. That's your top 2. It's a fun little list though.
Yeah.
Guys on this list, the top of the list is Mark Martin, Brad Keselowski, Carl Edwards, Hamlin, Stewart, Logano, Biffle, Truex, Kurt Busch. Names you know.
How many are on the list, James? Does it
36 drivers total.
Nice.
The bottom of the list is where it gets fun to me. That's David Rudiman. Steve Park is on this one. Ken Schrader. Justin Haley's on this list. Ricky Craven. Jimmy Spencer. So Michael Waltrip. So great list. Well, our Michigan's own Johnny Benson.
Nice.
And then I think Eric Jones. Yeah, Eric Jones on this list too. So a couple of our Brad. So there's a few of our Michigan guys on this list.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very, very cool.
All right, let's talk a little bit more news. Looks like anybody looking to go back to Chicagoland Speedway for a cup race probably isn't going to get that to happen, are they, James?
No, and it killed off by the computer.
Yeah,
the machines have come for our racetracks.
So there's a lot of skepticism about this, but iRacing announced that the final race of the NASCAR Pro Invitational Series, iRacing Pro Invitational Series, will be run at the Chicago Street Circuit, which has been developed by iRacing, and definitely caught a lot of people's attention because there have been rumors about a street race in NASCAR. There have been rumors about a Chicago street race at NASCAR, and with Chicagoland Speedway being taken off the schedule, talks last year about the land being up for sale. Yeah, it's kind of looking like we might see cars on the streets of Chicago before we see them back at Chicagoland Speedway.
Probably by 2022, would you say?
Probably. I mean, this is a big undertaking. it seems like they're shutting down some pretty prominent streets in Chicago to make this happen.
Yeah.
But we shall see.
They did to scan the track into iRacing. So if the city of Chicago is working with iRacing to do all of this, there's bigger talks going on here.
I mean, there is nobody thinks that this was done just to be done, right? I mean,
no, that's right. No,
whether this race ever comes to fruition or not, this is a test run at this race.
Yeah, and this is the death of the Chicagoland Speedway.
Yeah.
I mean that I don't know, Eric. I don't think we'll ever go back.
No, I don't think so either. I wasn't thinking we were going to anyway. I could see Kentucky maybe getting a race back. I doubt it, but I could see it maybe happening.
Yeah.
But Chicagoland's not getting a race back. That land's too valuable to bring a race back there. I mean, if they're gonna race there again, we'd be racing there this year.
Well, it's not like Nashville Super Speedway where you can go back someday. This is going to get, I feel like it's going to get torn down.
Oh yeah, that track's not going to stand there without racing.
It's a bummer, man. It's kind of a bummer.
Track, man. I mean,
one of your favorites. I know you've been there.
It actually, I think, is my favorite track I've been to, and I mean, it's a little outdated because it hasn't been updated really since it was built, which wasn't that long ago, 2000, 2001 ish, in that range anyway. But I mean, it's the racing it produced was great, and I mean, as far as from a fan aspect, lowered infield, the backstretch is raised, it's curved, you can see the whole track from any seat pretty much. You don't have to even turn your head to see the track because of the shape of it. Yep. It's just a great place, but bummer.
Yep, think she's gone and killed off by iRacing. Let's see what else iRacing can take from us.
Yeah, But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about the street circuit thing. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not.
Dave Moody thinks it's the dumbest thing ever until NASCAR announces it, and then Dave Moody will say it is the greatest thing NASCAR has ever done.
Yes.
So
I did not expect you to go after Moody today. Must have been a long car ride.
Such a fanboy sometimes. I love Moody, but sometimes he just infuriates me.
I love when you just go out there and just go after him. That's always one of my favorites.
I was thinking about it with the dirt race because I remember him just talking down Cup on dirt forever, and then he was talking this week like it was just awesome.
Well, and the underlying thing with him is he loves to troll the trolls.
That is true.
So that's him and Nick Brownberg. That's the rivalry. So. Yep. That was one of my favorite Twitter things. Whenever those two start going at it, I text Eric right away.
Yeah.
Like, it's on. It's on.
So we're going to test the next-gen car at Martinsville this week.
Yeah.
Each manufacturer is bringing one of its cars that it built to Martinsville. They will be they'll have patterns, camo wraps, etc. on them, disguise the cars so that the other manufacturers can't see what types of tricks they got up their sleeve. But I think, James, this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of that announcement for the All-Star race. They're going to run the next-gen car at the All-Star race.
Yeah, Eddie Gossage, I'm sure, is working on that right now.
It's going to happen. We haven't heard anything about that All-Star race, and this is why.
Cars on track with manufacturers behind them. This is a big step for the next-gen car.
Yeah.
This is probably the test before the teams get their orders to start building cars. I would assume
this will be the final. Yeah, I would assume that they'll get the tech specs after this and know exactly what they're going to get.
Yep, and and obviously the building of these cars is going to be a lot different. They're outsourcing quite a bit of it. The teams aren't going to be doing a lot of it themselves. So this is going to be here we go.
So you think we're going to have a situation like when IndyCar switched to their new car and they had the front wings where there was literally a shortage of them and they were having issues with them? Do you think we're going to run into something like that with shortage of parts?
I hope not. I mean, with this dang pandemic though, Eric, I don't know what to expect with anything, honestly. I mean, you would think, but like we have a national chip shortage for your standard cars,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, there very well could be. I hope not. I really do. I hope that it goes smoothly. I'm sure NASCAR's got everything in place to make it happen. So just don't wreck them.
Yeah.
Easier said than done for some of our drivers.
Right. James, I know you did some searching before the show. Any other news that we're missing?
Nope. iRacing series is going on right now as we speak, but other than that, we are clean and clear.
All right. We are going to we have Easter this weekend. There's no race this weekend. We race at Martinsville next weekend. But James and I decided we're going to take some time off unless some news breaks next week. We'll come up with a short podcast.
We work so hard. We deserve.
There's a lot of effort put into this podcast.
We need time off.
You can tell by the quality production value of this podcast that the amount of work that we put into it every week. So
you may or may not know that my daughter interrupted this very podcast tonight.
I'm good at editing that you guys.
It may be edited out. It may not. We'll just have to find out.
It's possible. It might even be at the end of the show. Who knows?
That'd be great.
So we're gonna make our picks this week for Martinsville, and like I said, next week if some big news breaks, they drop a schedule or announce the All-Star race or something like that, we might jump on for a quick pod. But chances are we'll be off next week and return the following week to break down the whole Martinsville thing. So just to recap from this past week, James, I'm finally ahead of you.
You did it.
I got you 52-34 this week on points. Lead 564 to 556. So James actually gets to pick first this week.
Incredible.
Which is unusual for me. So one thing to note before we make our picks for Martinsville, just to preview the event, no grass on the inside of the corners at Martinsville anymore.
Took her all out. I know. The last little bit of green grass is gone.
Had a nice long cleanup there last year because of a wreck where a car slid through that grass, and NASCAR said, no more of that. Let's put some concrete or asphalt down, and so no more grass. Yeah, who cares? The curbs are still there. That's all that matters. So
yeah, it doesn't matter.
James gets the first pick for the Xfinity race. Yep. It is the Cookout 250. James, who you got?
Yeah, after my historic 34-point performance from Bristol, our new record low for the season. Thank you very much.
One thing to note here is James noted before we started recording, Martinsville has not historically had Xfinity races for a while.
I know. We only had one in the fall. That was it.
Yep. So it's
since
a tough
2016.
Pick.
Or since 2006 was the last time before the fall. I had it between two drivers, but I'm going to take the easy way out here, Eric. I'm going to say Harrison.
You're going with last year's winner, huh?
I'm going to take last year's winner, but I'm curious to see if you pick my guy. I was really I almost did it. I almost picked him, but let's see if you take him.
Oh, hold on. Let me look here real quick.
I'm going to write down.
Were you going to go Allgaier?
No, I wasn't. But
you're going to go Austin Cindric?
No,
I'm going Austin Cindric because
I
just don't. I have not played the Austin Cindric card at all this year, and I'm playing it this weekend. So
you need it. Yeah, he's going to be good.
Who was your guy? Who was your other one?
I was looking at Noah Gragson.
Really? No, I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm over the Noah Gragson thing.
Yeah, he had a really good race there last fall and scored a ton of points, led laps. But I'm going to take the winner. I'm going to take Harrison. I just kind of trust him.
I am not. Just for the record, Noah Gragson has led 23 laps at Martinsville, but Austin Cindric has led 42.
Yes.
And another one to note, AJ Allmendinger has led 68.
Well, here's the thing. I was going to pick him, but I can't. I used him in the last Xfinity race.
That's right.
So I cannot pick AJ
I think this
Allmendinger.
is my first time picking Austin Cindric all season. So.
It is your first time picking Austin Cindric. Yep. You have picked Harrison Burton before.
Yes.
I've also picked him way back. He scored me 8 points last time, so I need a good run. Austin Cindric's been my big dog here for the most part, but no, that's good. I like Austin Cindric.
There you go.
He'll be good.
Cup Series, it's the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500 from Martinsville Speedway.
Yeah.
Who you going with on that one, James?
Yeah, so I'm going to pick a guy who continues to top 5 his way through the entire season, and it's about time he got himself a win. I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin.
To win. I'm not used to picking first. There's a lot of pressure, but I'll take Denny.
Oh man, that makes it tough on me because I actually have 2, and I was hoping you'd pick one of them so I wouldn't have to decide between the 2. But I'm going to go with my first pick. And I'm going to go with the last winner here and the guy who has run well at Martinsville pretty much since he started racing. And Denny Hamlin's nemesis at Martinsville and Chase Elliott.
Chase, I like it.
Martin Truex Jr. was my second choice. Also a pretty good choice here. And Denny Hamlin's a great choice too. So really those were the 3 that I was thinking about, but I'd left Denny Hamlin off my list. I was going with Chase or Truex. So
a couple sneaky guys that I like here too, though. Brad, Blaney, the Penske guys, Joey. I mean, all those Penske guys are pretty good here.
Hendrick has historically run well here too in the past.
With a resurgence that they've run, yeah.
Well, how many times did Jimmy Johnson run well, and who's driving the Jimmy Johnson car now?
Right, Bowman could be good here.
I was thinking Larson, but
yeah, Larson. Well, yeah, I was thinking the 48, but yes, Kyle Larson's been so bad here that I'm not 100% sure.
I think the days of Larson being bad anywhere are over.
You might be right. This is going to be a true test. If he comes into Martinsville and kicks everybody's butt, I am going to. I guess I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's just not used to slowing down like he has to do here
that's true.
at Martinsville. I think that's why it's so hard for him. But his last start here, he did finish 9th. So I guess he's not that terrible. But it's been a while. He missed the last 2 starts, obviously.
Right.
After last year. So.
All right. Fantasy League. Let's talk about Fantasy League real quick, James. How did you do on Fantasy League this week?
Boy, whole league.
Not we all, because I finished 5th.
No. When the winner of the league scores 150 points, that's a rough week for all of us.
175.
175. I'm sorry. Yes, so still under the 200 mark.
Give Mr. Consistency some credit.
Mr. Consistency, my buddy Ian, he got the win. Not a NASCAR guy, but kicked all of our butts. So Mr. Consistency gets the win. Barron Speedway, friend of the show, and then Raging Redneck Racing continues to score very well. Eric, you ended up getting 5th.
Yeah, would have been a lot better if Truex wouldn't have blew it right there at the end.
Yeah, I sacrificed my chance at the 100 club and benched Larson to save a start down the road. Hopefully I can maximize that start. If I don't, it's not going to be good. I ended up 10th, so yuck. Overall standings, Ranger holding on to his lead, but Raging Redneck is right there. And then Fast to the Grass is our 3rd place in the standings at the current moment. So that's pretty awesome. To see a couple new guys up in there. Mr. Consistency 4th. I am 7th. Eric, you're 8th. We're separated by not quite 30 points. So we are right in the middle of the pack, like we should be, like we normally would be. So
there you go.
Yep. Fun time.
All right.
Hate that league.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Speaking of dead horses from earlier in the show. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Any shout outs this week?
Let me think about it for just a second. I do have a quick shout out. Eric, a buddy of yours, honestly. Well, not so much a buddy of yours. I'm speaking out of turn there. But I had a little bit of Twitter interaction with one of the hosts of Dinner with Drivers.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to find said tweet through my feed here really quick, but that's, not easier said than done for me. So, Dinner for Drivers, though, great podcast. If you haven't listened to that one, Eric, I've listened to the Tony Stewart ones, which I thought were great for obvious reasons, but, I don't know. It's been a while since I've checked that podcast out, but I need to definitely get in, or I guess get back on that podcast train.
Yeah, it's been a bit for me as well, but it is a great podcast. The pandemic kind of killed some of the podcasts for me, the ones where they actually sat across from people because they weren't able to. So
Well, I should mention it was Ryan Eversley, by the way.
Yeah, there you
go. sorry about that. Yes, Ryan Eversley, one of the hosts of Dinner with Drivers. But he is a professional race car driver, which is cool. So,
nice.
drives an IMSA. So yeah, good deal.
Cool.
Good deal. Yeah.
I don't really have anything. I don't have any shout outs.
You're not gonna force it? Sometimes I force it.
Yeah. So I mean, shout out to Aaron Bearden for some funny stuff this week with the dirt race.
He thought it was on his game.
Shout out to Jamie Little for working her butt off at the dirt race on Saturday or on Sunday.
Yeah, in the flood.
Updates. Shout out to everybody at Bristol who had to deal with the rain. Fortunately, NASCAR called it early. I think they made the right call calling it on Sunday. Even if the rain had stopped early enough to get the track under condition, when your parking lots are flooded, it's kind of hard to ask people to come to your race. So yeah, I think rain in the mountains not necessarily the greatest thing. So I think they made the right decision there, and it was pretty good. So
yep, I think so.
So yeah, good deal. On them. And I guess big shout out to NASCAR for pulling this sucker off. NASCAR and SMI. They got a fan in me. I'll be looking forward to it next year. Hopefully make my way down to Bristol next year when this whole stupid pandemic is over and we can actually go down the pits again and mingle with drivers. Hopefully we'll be heading out there. Marcus Smith was on a Dale Jr. download this week. Just a note, Bob Pockris says that Marcus noted they sold 36,000 tickets for Bristol.
Wow. So that's pretty good. I mean, it looked like a pretty decent crowd in there.
Yeah, and they managed to make it work for the doubleheader that people had truck tickets only could stay for the Cup race. So that was cool. Yeah, there was some question whether they were going to be able to do that with COVID, but able to make it happen. So that's cool.
Yeah. COVID doesn't exist anymore.
Nah, I know. Hey man, couple of weeks I'll be vaccinated. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Me too. Yes, we are both very close.
Yep. So, James, where can they find you on social media if they want to chat with you during the week?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheSuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find old podcasts on there, show notes, links to articles we discuss, past articles, race coverage, photos, all that stuff. Check it out, thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Wherever you heard us today, we hope you subscribe and continue to listen. And most of all, if you want to become a part of the show and help us out, you can do so by becoming a patron at patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. No racing this weekend. It is Easter weekend, but we will be back next week with Martinsville. We will, like I said, jump on here if there's anything worth talking about prior to Martinsville. Otherwise, we'll join you afterwards and recap the race. 500 laps of short track racing following the Bristol Dirt Race. What more can you ask for? I love these little short track stints we get. And then I think we go to Richmond right afterwards. So, good
3
stuff.
Short tracks in a row, and then we go to the big dog.
There you go. Yeah.
Talladega looms,
good
baby.
stuff. Can't wait for that too. So, like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks to discuss all that, break it all down, talk about Martinsville, preview Richmond, all that fun stuff. Hope you guys have a happy Easter. And until then, everybody, let's go racing.
Yeah, it was definitely a sorry, hold on, Ellie's Ellie's there. Can you pause for a second?
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, sorry, man.
No
she
problem.
came sneaking out of our room. Do you want to take it from
Well, I'll just say I ended with what I ended with.
You were talking about dust.
Yeah, I said the second stage was really ruined by the dust, and then if you want to take it from there, I can jump back in, or
that sounds good.